So let's talk about women's health and in particular ovarian health. So, for the ladies out there, for everyone in fact, ovarian cancer is one of those problematic issues. And so, right now at time of recording, it's Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And here in the Savvy team, we really believe that what you focus on expands. So let's not make it Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Let's make this together Ovarian Health Awareness Month. So if you're new to what we do here in the Savvy team and the Healthy Savvy Life Show, we're all about really teaching you simple strategies to help you reach the next level of health and lifestyle. And so when you tap in with our community, you'll have all the action plans and step-by-step guidance that you need to get that job done. So yeah, we're talking here about women's health, and it's a particularly important topic. As I mentioned there, we're dealing with the fact that at this point in time, it's Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and there's so much conversation around the issue of cancer, and yet so few people give any attention to actual prevention. So that's what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about ovarian health awareness. And really, that's an extension of women's health and general principles of functional medicine and your preventative strategies, more complementary approach. See, in our philosophy, we don't attack the problem. What we do is really support the body's structures so that you achieve optimal well-being. And that's why we focus more on health awareness than attacking a disease. But, when we're dealing with this issue of ovarian health and women's health, right now, we really believe that it's time for OVARY-action. And a bit of a play on words there, but, ovarian cancer is a particularly problematic issue. So when we look at the signs and the symptoms, before we look at the signs and the symptoms, let's just take a little look at the actual risks. And so each year here in this particular region, 1,500 women are diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and over 1,000 women will actually die. And this is the primary thing. The call for the Awareness Month is about teaching women to understand the signs and the symptoms. Well, if you've been on any of our Healthy Savvy Life shows or Healthy Wealthy Wise shows or any of the things that we do, you'll know that we say that any warning sign, any issue, any symptom, any sign that shows up in the body is like a dashboard light flashing, similar to a dashboard light flashing on your car that says action needs to be taken. But what we tend to do is we ignore that, or we think it's related to something else, or we take a painkiller to get rid of it, or whatever. And so it's interesting, when we're dealing with an issue such as ovarian cancer that doesn't have an effective screening methodology, you actually have to pay attention to the warning signs. And so that's what the movement is about. But again, we believe that's too little too late. So why just put all the attention on knowing the problems that could show up so that we can do something about it? Why not know the simple action steps to focus on prevention? That's what we're about here in the Savvy team, and that's what we really want to help you to truly understand. So obviously, there are risk factors such as a family history, getting older is a risk factor, medical conditions, previous medical conditions such as endometriosis, use of hormone replacement therapy, smoking, and obesity. These are all issues. These are all risk factors. And so when we actually look at the signs and the symptoms, these are some of the signs and the symptoms. Unexplained fatigue. When we have women and men, but a lot of women, when they, fill out the How Can We Help form, when they, begin their journey of wellness improvement with us here in the Savvy team, low energy levels, hormonal disturbance, all of these are top on the list. So these are all early warning signs. So how long does fatigue have to be in place before it leads to potential problems? So fatigue could be it could be a sign of, is one of the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer. But of course, fatigue can be related to so many things. But it is a warning sign that your body's not coping. So why don't we do something to make sure your body has the energy levels, the fundamental boost, right from the mitochondrial level and the energy production centers in your body. So that's what we're about teaching here in our organization. So next thing is unexplained weight gain or loss. Sounds awfully familiar to a lot of people. So increased this is where we start to get much more, I guess, specific. So if you're noticing these sorts of things like increased size, like abdominal size, like that bloating, but more than bloating. So it's a persistent pressure and feeling of fullness and bloating in the abdomen. Okay, so there's no specific pain that can be related to this. Abdominal pelvic lower tummy pain, but most people just associate that with digestive upset. But again, if this is ongoing, then this is where it's wise to get yourself checked out, have an examination, and then at least you know. And then, again, you focus on the preventative strategies. Appetite loss, feeling full quickly, or indigestion. And another very specific one, urinary changes, such as more frequent urination. So what's important to understand here is there's no effective screening program. Now, that's a good and a bad thing. So in a lot of the screening tests, there's over screening that goes on in the profession. So but it's nice to have certain screening methodologies to look for these sorts of things. But here, it's just more of a physical test, a symptom test, and so it's worthwhile getting yourself checked out. But what is more important? What is more important than knowing all of those signs and symptoms is actually knowing what you can do to prevent issues. Now, on the flip side of that, we had the great pleasure of being involved in helping someone in really some of our earlier days in the some reason we have, excuse me everyone, but I have power problems showing up for some reason. So so Christabel here 22 years ago was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and her story is an amazing story of recovery that she actually wrote about in her book, and gave both Linda and myself a good rap and some wonderful words there. And so it's great to have known her for so long, and that she says right here that I'm alive and kicking. We're still alive and laughing, not kicking, but still alive and laughing thanks to you guys. So things can be done, but understand that here in our organization, we don't treat issues. We look to correct some of the underlying causes. So Christabel's an isolated case because most people that we work with are actually passionate about preventing issues rather than fixing the broken down things as such. It's not to say that you can't get benefit from from nutritional therapies and holistic well-being therapies when things have gone awry for you. So, the core thing to be clear of, though, is that symptoms, this is what I was saying before, symptoms are not enemies to be destroyed, but they're actually sacred messengers that encourage you to take better care of yourselves. And a holistic approach is much more sensible in our opinion. So when you think about it, waiting for signs and symptoms to show up is a reactive approach. Whereas if you can focus on more of a proactive approach, then you're going to be better off. Now, similarly to breast cancer, when we're dealing with ovarian cancer, it's very similar to breast cancer, and some of the similar triggers, I should say. And so 65 to 75% of cancer cases can be traced back to lifestyle factors. For the vast majority of women, it is your lifestyle choices that will make the biggest difference in your risk. And that is from Dr. Ruth Patterson, and she runs programs in this particular area and does substantial research. just looking at her qualifications there, she's the professor at University of California, San Diego, and the leader of the cancer prevention program. So that's what we're dealing with. We're looking at cancer prevention rather than actually sort of treating the issue. We leave the treating of the issue up to the doctors and the experts, but what can we do to help you stack the odds in your favor? Well, there are three. The important thing to be aware of here is that there are, in essence, three primary factors that you will want to know about. And so we're just going to go through those three primary factors right now. So the number one factor that triggers, the lifestyle factor that triggers cancers that, if you take care of now, you can obviously reduce your risk, is excessive toxins and growth factors. So growth factors are things like excess insulin and excess estrogen that can be from the environment or from medication, things like that. So the next one is poor nutrition and metabolic health. So again, this is where we come into metabolic health, is to do with obesity, your general metabolism, glucose metabolism, the way your insulin is functioning, and just general lack of nutrients in the system. And number three is chronic inflammation and impaired detoxification. Those three things are really the root causes of most cancer. Okay, there's a hereditary thing, there's genetic stuff there, but it's not for most people. As Dr. Patterson says here, 65 to 75% of cancer cases can be traced back to lifestyle factors. So what does that mean? That means that you are in control. So if you're in control, that means that you can take the control right now and prevent being one of the statistics. Now, when we talk about taking control, I'm going to go through some more factors that can help in that. And so a little bit of a longer show today because I wanted to really share with you some tips that can help you prevent this issue. But one of the, I don't think I have this slide here to show you, but one of the things that you may have heard in the media and everything is Angelina Jolie having a radical mastectomy, and even then a couple of years later an oophorectomy. So in other words, preventative operations, removing the breasts first of all because of breast cancer concern, and then a preventative operation removing all of the fallopian tubes and ovaries because of her concern for her risk. Basically having the genes and a family history with her aunt and her mother and her grandmother all ending up with breast cancer. Now, the thing is that removing the genes are tumor suppressor genes. So they don't actually say that if you have the gene mutation, you'll get the disease. Because genes are influenced by what you do every day. So your lifestyle, and so you can influence the readout, the printout, the expression of your genes by what you do today. So, if you don't tackle the underlying issues, then, it's like, okay, so you're driving down the road and you're driving on glass and nails in the car and you get a flat tire. So you replace the flat tire. But if you don't make any effort to clear away the nails and the glass and you just keep driving down the road, then you're going to blow another tire. And then you're going to blow another tire. So, what? Do you remove all the wheels so that there's nothing left? No. You prevent the issue. You get rid of the glass, you get rid of the nails so that you don't keep flattening the tires. So it's the same sort of thing. We have some fundamental things that we can do to make changes in our lifestyle, and then you can progress towards that higher level of wellness. So looking at this a little bit deeper and some action steps for you in prevention. So obviously we dealt with excess toxins and growth factors, poor nutrition and poor metabolic health, chronic inflammation and impaired detoxification. But what are some other things? Well, first of all, from a diet point of view, we would encourage you to ditch the sugar and the high carb diet. Sugar feeds cancer, they know it, okay? It also creates obesity, diabetes, these sorts of things. So it's one of the number one things that you could do to really get in control, to control your insulin levels, which is implicated in, in this whole issue here. So things like we have the Eat Savvy approach, but a high fiber diet, whole foods, fresh foods, eliminate the sugary processed foods and the insulinogenic, the insulin raising foods. So another tip would be to eliminate problem foods, specific problem foods. These are the foods that you could be already sensitive to. It also is having more nutrient dense foods, but the top things that people are sensitive to are wheat and dairy. And in particular with dairy, it's mostly the casein, so the protein, and sometimes the lactose. A lot of people that think they're lactose intolerant are actually intolerant to the casein, okay? So, in fact, some people who said, I can't drink milk, they can have butter quite successfully because it's not the dairy per se, it's the actual inflammatory agents in there. A lot of people say, I can only drink A2 milk. That's right, because again, there was a gene mutation, and most of our commercial milk is a mix of the A1 and A2 proteins, and the A1 protein is inflammatory. So again, chronic inflammation can be triggered by some of these foods. So eliminate the foods. It's just not worth it to your long-term health if you already know you're intolerant to something and you keep eating it, or just some of the major things. So what the Pareto principle of dietary change that we teach here in the Savvy team is really, we could boil it down to the 80-20 rule. What 20% of things could you really just attack and get rid of that would make such a big difference, give you 80% results? Sugar, grains, inflammatory oils. If you got rid of those, you'd be reducing many of the inflammation triggers, you'd be reducing insulin, you'd be eliminating many chemicals that we've talked about already that can be weight gain inducing and hormone disruptive, etc. So it doesn't take that much. All right, so if something's irritating your system, it doesn't matter. Like, this is the thing, people say, yeah, but my sister can eat it, my partner can eat it, my kids can eat it, why can't I eat it? It's irrelevant. If you are sensitive, it's not doing you good. Let's just take it away from, cancer and all that sort of thing, and just look at a story away from what you may know. You may have dealt with migraines and headaches. You may have realized that certain foods trigger migraines for you, etc. Well, I have struggled with suboccipital pain and migraines for a lot of my life, and the thing is that I could never explain what triggered them. It was really hard. I've been to specialists and I've been to several different methodologies of chiropractic, several different methodologies of body work, and had lots of different x-rays, and there was nothing that structurally they could say. So here's the interesting thing. So migraines, I'd eliminated alcohol, I'd eliminated all the chocolate, because people say you can't drink red wine and you can't have chocolate if you get migraines. Well, I could eat the red wine and the chocolate and I seemingly didn't get a migraine or a headache. But then other days I would. And so what it turned out for me is pretty much I don't tolerate grains or nightshade vegetables. Nightshades are eggplants, capsicum, tomatoes, chili, potatoes. So when I eliminated grains and all the nightshades, my headaches went away. Boom! So it's just not worthwhile just not eliminating foods that you're sensitive to. And in the Eat Savvy approach, we basically say, right, here's what most people are sensitive to. So why don't you just give it a go and eliminate all those sorts of things and see how you feel. See how you feel. Move forward from there. You can add things in later on and experiment with that. But in a study done by the Journal of the American Medical Association, they found that hidden gluten sensitivity, so gluten sensitivity that people didn't really think that they had, was shown to increase the risk of death by 35 to 75%, mostly causing heart disease and cancer. This was a major study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, saying that hidden gluten sensitivity was responsible for an increase by 35 to 75% of disease, an increased risk of death, not just disease. So your habit of eating gluten and wheat and anything that contains gluten could be increasing your risk of death by 35 to 75%, according to a major study done in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And people still say bread's healthy. Reduced inflammation is another thing, and we covered that a little bit before, but inflammation is the common thread that sort of links most chronic diseases today, including cancer, heart disease, etc. So this out-of-control inflammation causes a myriad of different problems. It causes insulin resistance, etc. So it's really one of the major, threads amongst all of these chronic diseases. There's autoimmunity and allergy-triggered things there as well, but insulin resistance too by a poor diet and not having control of your blood sugar, etc. That creates even more inflammation, and then the whole, your whole system burns down, your whole biological house burns down. So remove the sugar, remove the inflammatory agents, remove gluten, move to maybe some of the less inflammatory dairy, so fermented dairy, just the high-fat things, so really good organic cream, grass-fed, butter from grass-fed cows, maybe the A2 milk if you do drink a little bit of milk, but severely limit your intake of things such as of milk. So, also there are anti-inflammatory foods such as vegetables and omega-3 foods and, krill oil and flax seeds and antioxidants as well, like curcumin and grapeseed extract. All of these sorts of things can be very anti-inflammatory. So then you'll want to also think about healing and sealing the gut. So, the gut's sort of at the root of many diseases. So gut repair, cancer often originates in your gut, not as colon cancer, but because of the research that a lot of scientists are doing in the microbiome, showing that there is a definite link there. So, probiotics, superfoods, prebiotics, phytonutrients, curcumin again, grapeseed extract, all of these sorts of things, but also things such as collagen, bone broth, bovine colostrum, aloe vera. All of these can help heal and seal the gut as well. And last but not least, definitely you'll want to reduce your toxin exposure. Kick the chemicals, because the World Health Organization has definitely linked the exposure to many of these endocrine disrupting chemicals to cancers of all sorts of different types, issues with infertility and obesity and hormonal disruption as well. And so where are these found? Well, all of these different sources such as furniture outgassing, electrical outgassing, environmental pollution, pesticides, herbicides, food, drinks, and the water supply as well. But in particular, most of the direct exposures today are happening through cleaning products in the home, air fresheners in the home, sprays in the home, personal care products put directly on your skin, and bathroom products. And so, that's where we help a lot of people change to safer and really make a difference in that particular area. So really, really important stuff. So just remember what Dr. Ruth Patterson said. When we're talking here about ovarian health awareness and preventing any degeneration of your health towards cancer. Less than 5% of breast cancers, and similarly with because breast cancer is one of the most prevalent cancers, and ovarian cancer is the one with the highest mortality rate. So less than 5% of cancers, we could say, are due to genetic factors. 65 to 75% can be traced back to lifestyle factors. For the vast majority of women, it's your lifestyle choices that will make the biggest difference in your risk. So, we like to say, we love this particular quote from Dr. Molly Roberts, that your body will start by whispering, then it'll start talking. And if you don't pay attention, it's going to start yelling and shouting, and then you've got an illness. And, you know, that's the whole focus that we have here on prevention and the importance of really, you know, looking after your health as a whole and, you know, going after preventative strategies, okay? So that's what the Healthy Savvy Life show is about. That's what those tips are about. You can take action today and change your, you know, based on the science of epigenetics, change your genetic expression and really move towards a higher level of health. So lots that can be done, So, you know, here in the Savvy team, we really want to help you to hit that high level of health and lifestyle. So we like to say we want to help you to be savvy. And what do we mean by that? We mean to be astute, sharp, perceptive, and informed, especially about matters relating to, you know, holistic wellness and prevention. So that's it from me for this particular episode of Healthy Savvy Life. If you have any questions, do please ask. You know, if you want more information on this particular topic, maybe access to our hormonal health masterclass and these sorts of things, or our, you know, 9 things that mess up your hormones, just ask. Feel free to ask in the comments, and we can make sure follow any instructions that are there, and let's make sure that you get the information that you need. So all the best. We look forward to catching up with you next time around on Healthy Savvy Life.